All right, what's up YouTube? It's Ben, and in this video, I want to tell you guys 10 specific things that you can do to start your recruiting agency from absolute scratch with no experience whatsoever. Hey, so just a quick shout out to all of you guys that are already subscribed to this channel, all of you guys that already follow my content, good stuff. If you're not in our Facebook group, definitely join the Facebook group. It's called Recruiter Empire. Link down in the description of this video. If you're brand new to the channel, definitely subscribe because we do content on recruiting, staffing, business, entrepreneurship, real estate investing, all that kind of stuff. And if you like that stuff, you should definitely follow the channel. Let's jump right into the 10 things that you can do to start your recruiting agency from absolutely nothing. All right, so my first piece of advice to you of the 10 pieces I'm going to give you in this video is define your niche or niches. So I'm widely known for always talking about having multiple niches and not having one niche because I think you should have options. I'm all about having options, and I think you should definitely have variables by which you can use, right? So if you're looking into the job market and you're looking into recruiting and staffing, don't just put your head into a corner and say, I'm going to only work with logistics, right? That might be a bad idea. You might want to have 3 or even 4 niches on hand that you can basically utilize. So you can check out logistics, see if it's working for you. If it's not, maybe you can pivot to admin. Maybe you can pivot to clerical. Maybe you can pivot to finance, right? The list goes on, but read down a list of industries and niches that you can define, that you can start to go after. That's the first piece of advice that I'm going to give you. If you have zero experience in recruiting, you need to define the niches that you're going to be working in. All right, so number 2 is research the market. Okay. When you get into a new business, especially recruiting specifically, you want to research the market. Like, what does it look like? What is unemployment, right? Unemployment, is it like 3% right now, 2%? Like, is it really good, really bad? Are there a lot of people that need jobs? Are there not that many people that need jobs? Are we in a recession? Are we in a booming economy? Like, all these things are really important for somebody with zero experience just starting a recruiting or staffing business. You need to know these data points because with that information, knowledge is power, and you can utilize that knowledge to basically make the correct moves. So at that point, you'll kind of even know what niches, going back to number 1, are best for you or maybe not best for you right now, right? So that kind of knowledge is going to be really important. So when I talk about market research, I'm not saying you need to be a mad scientist and whiteboard out everything like crazy, but you definitely need to do your market research on what type of niches are obtainable for you. You need to do your market research on who's hiring for what, right? All those things are going to become really important to you when you actually start your recruiting and staffing business. And also understanding the market in certain ways that you haven't even looked at before, right? So maybe you understand that there is a logistics market out there, but what's underneath that, right? There's logistics. There's also like transportation beneath that. There's also distribution. There's warehouse. There's many things that come below that niche, right? That you need to identify because there's lots and lots of jobs underneath every single type of niche or market or industry. So schooling yourself on the market and doing market research is definitely going to benefit you in the future with no experience when you're starting your recruiting or staffing agency. All right, so my third piece of advice to you would be to develop a structure, right? I don't want to say business plan because I hate business plans, right? I think business plans are useless, but you should develop a structure of sort of what you're going to be doing in the business and how the business is actually going to make you money, right? You have to have a defined goal as to what I'm going to do now and then to the paycheck, right? So there has to be an actual goal of how you're going to actually obtain money, right? So no business actually works without a pathway towards the greenbacks, right? You need to figure out how you're actually going to be making money. So identify, right, exactly what steps you need to take and what things you need to be doing to actually get to your clients, to get them candidates, to make placements, to actually make money. So identifying that structure, identifying that framework, I wouldn't say business plan, but I'll say it in this video just for the sake of ease of understanding. Developing that plan of action before you actually take action is super important for you, because going forth, if you have that written down, if you have that set in stone, right, you can move off of that and you can take action based off of that plan right there. All right, so number 4, select a location. Select a geography in which you want to work, right? So every student that I work with in Recruiter Empire Mentorship, our mentorship program, which, by the way, if you're interested in basically just learning all of this stuff in our program and not having to think about it, but having us just teach you and show you everything, I'll put a link to that in the description. But knowing where to work, right? First things first, I tell everyone, start in your own backyard, right? Start in your backyard. So I live in Seattle. Seattle's a pretty large metropolitan market with a lot of industry, right? Various industries, tech, logistics, it has everything. So with that said, I have a lot to work with just in Seattle, but there's also a lot to work with in like Texas and Florida and a lot of places. So identify your geography, identify your location, identify where you want to be working at, right? And basically my professional advice to you, if you are literally starting from absolute scratch, is to go to your own backyard first, because you know it best. You know exactly where all of the clientele will be. And you also know, even more importantly, where you'll find the best candidates. Where do they live? Where do they exist? How are you going to be able to connect the two, right? All those things are going to prove to be very important, really beneficial for you going forward if you have no experience in starting in recruiting. All right, so number 5 on the list of items I want to give you if you're starting from literal scratch, no experience on recruiting and staffing. Understand what services you're going to offer. Okay, so in recruiting and staffing, there is temporary placement, right? There's temp to perm, there is contract, there is direct hire, there is contingent, there is retainer. Like, you can go 6 ways from Sunday on how you're actually going to do recruiting and staffing, but you have to figure out exactly how you're going to offer your services. Now, let me give you a pro tip. When you're just starting out, you're absolutely going to want to go with direct hire placement. This is the most simple format of actually doing recruiting, meaning you find a client that has a need, they have a job need for one salesperson. You go find the salesperson, bring the salesperson to them, you get paid. That's it, one and done, and you're over, right? Now, the more complicated stuff like retainer agreements where you get money up front, that takes a whole nother level, right? Let's talk about staffing. That's a whole different level as well. And I don't recommend anyone jumps into staffing or temp placement until you have about 6 to 8 months of direct hire placement under your belt, just because there's so many different variables involved in that service. And if you're going to offer that service, you really need to know what you're doing. So I definitely don't recommend that as a startup. But if you're just starting out with no experience, absolutely contingent direct hire placement recruiting is what you need to be after. All right, so number 6 is pretty straightforward. Set up your brand. Like, figure out who you are. Like, what's your agency going to be all about? Like, what is your brand and what makes you different than others, right? What is going to be your main thing, right? A lot of people have this like one element or this one aspect of their brand that differentiates them from everybody else in the market, which I'm not a huge fan of competition and thinking about like what makes me so much different than, XYZ company or whatever. I don't really care. But at the end of the day, you should have some sort of brand that says, this is who I am and this is how I operate, right? And this is my agency. So with that brand comes along a lot of things, right? How are you going to brand your LinkedIn? How are you going to brand all the things you do online? How are you going to name yourself, which we'll get into in a second? Those things matter, right? So building a brand for your company is a really, really important step on getting on the pathway to getting into recruiting and staffing. So when you're just starting up and you have zero experience, you definitely want to take this step, and don't take it lightly. Take it seriously and make a really, really good brand out of what you're about to do, and you'll be on your way. All right, so coming right off of setting up your brand is another really, really straightforward one, but naming your recruiting agency. All right, so this is kind of like semi-complicated, but also really, really easy at the same time. Here's a rule I give everybody. Do not name your company in under 24 hours but don't take any longer than 48 hours to name your company. Otherwise, you just go on and on forever and ever, and it takes a week or 2 weeks, and you finally find the name. Just figure it out within 48 hours max, but not under 24 hours, right? Otherwise, you're going to overthink and it's going to get nuts. But make your name relevant. Make it make sense. Make it a name that people will actually understand, that people will actually resonate with, and make sure that you have product market fit. If you don't know what that means, I'll do another video on that, or just Google it. But either way, you have to have product market fit, meaning basically your name and your agency just makes sense for what you're doing. So figure out a really good name for your agency that makes sense and bounce it off of a few people, right? And come up with several names, right? And then do process of elimination. You can't go wrong doing that. So name the agency and you're off and running, and you're almost to the 10th step of literally setting up your recruiting agency from absolute scratch, zero experience. All right, so number 8. This gets into the legalities of your business. So this is structuring your business legally, okay? So no legal advice is being given here. This is for entertainment purposes only, but you're gonna wanna figure out whether you're gonna wanna be a regular LLC, whether you're gonna be an actual corporation, like a C Corp, or if you're going to be an S Corp, right? Sometimes people already have an LLC coming into business, right? And they just need to modify it. Maybe that might be a thing. But you want to figure out your actual legal structure. And mainly this involves how you get taxed at the end of the year. So if you plan on being really, really good, which I intend for you to be really, really good if you follow my content, I suppose, let's say your first year you make $500,000 in recruiting. You should definitely be an LLC or an S corporation where you actually pay yourself a salary. There's a lot of tax benefits and a lot of things that go into it. I'm not going to go into that in this video because there's a lot of information. But with all that said, you do need to figure out exactly what your structure legally is going to be on paper, right? On documentation, on your LLC that's filed with your state. So once you get that set up, and once you get a really, really good CPA, which is super important, you will be definitely on your way to being full-blown ready to go with having zero experience in recruiting and staffing, but well on your way. All right, so number 9, this one's kind of unique, right? Identify balance, okay? Figure out what your balance is gonna be for this business. Listen, if you actually want to take this the distance, if you actually want to make $500,000 a year, $1 million a year in recruiting, you actually need to put some work into this thing, right? So nobody got anywhere. I didn't get anywhere. I didn't get to 7 figures without actually putting blood, sweat, and tears into this thing and working 12, 13, 14-hour days, at least at the beginning, before automation and putting other things in place, before all the stuff we teach in our mentorship program. Before all that, you really need to figure out what your balance is going to be and understand that if you have relationships and if you have like a 9-to-5 job, you've got to figure out exactly how the timing is going to work. This is critical because if you don't figure this out and organize it properly, you're going to kind of be stuck in a hard spot, okay? Because you're not going to have the time to dedicate to your agency. And your agency is what's going to take you out of your 9-to-5 job if you're working one, which generally like 95% of people getting into the business are already working a 9-to-5 job. They just need to get out, right? And this is the way out. This is your golden ticket out so that you can make money in recruiting so that you don't have to work a 9-to-5 job anymore. So that being said, figure out the balance and figure out the way you can do this. Now, there's a lot of calculations I could do, but I'll just give you the basics. At the end of the day, if you calculate everything, including literally like your workouts, the time that you actually spend at your 9-to-5 job, the time you spend commuting, the time you spend sleeping, you still have in the week approximately like 50 hours that you can be working on your business and still get a full night's sleep. So there are no excuses. Balance yourself out, figure out the timing, identify the timing, and actually do the work in those hours. Don't just BS around, actually take action and do the things that you need to do. And again, if you need to know what you need to do, you need to just join our mentorship program. Again, link in description for that. But figure out what you need to do in those hours and execute, take action. Make sure that you're actually moving yourself towards building out this recruiting or staffing business. All right, so number 10, the final and last step of launching your recruiting or staffing business with zero experience from scratch. And this is all stuff that I did personally, guys. Like, this is all of what I did, right? Number 10 here is actually promoting your business, right? Launching the business. So this is stuff like optimizing your LinkedIn page, setting up your website, right? Figuring out how you're going to promote your business on cold email or outreach on LinkedIn using automation software, all of that stuff. Figuring all that stuff out and promoting your business and actually launching it and going after it, finding clients so that you can start getting candidates and start getting paid, right? That is the 10th step. That's the last step that you need. Everything after that is basically rinse and repeat and just keep going, right? So those are the 10 steps that you need right there. All right, guys, if you found value in this video on these 10 steps on how to actually get up and running with zero experience in recruiting and staffing, then smash that like button, subscribe if you're not already, definitely join our Facebook group, Recruiter Empire, link right down below this video, you'll see it. Join the Facebook group and definitely see you guys next time.